Srimad Bhagavatam is a treasury of scintillating stutis. Kunti Stuti, Bhishma Stuti, Prahlada Stuti, Dhruva Stuti. A stuti is a prayer, a glorious prayer. Amongst these stutis, Kunti Stuti has several distinctions. Kunti Stuti is the very first stuti in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 8th Adhyaya of Prathama Skandha, Kunti Stuti, Kunti's prayers are filled to the brim with nectarine bhakti, filled to the brim with unflinching devotion and profound philosophy. Kunti is one of the most resilient and powerful characters in our history. She often is silent. She talks very little. But through her actions as a loving mother, as a beautiful wife, as a dedicated daughter-in-law, and most importantly, as a dear devotee, an aunt at the same time of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, her actions are worthy of worship. Kunti endures several disasters, several distressful situations, devastating incidents, assassination plots, betrayal, deceit, several plots to kill her sons. She endures all of them. And interestingly, we see that her life is a series of miseries, crisis after crisis, crisis after crisis engulfing her. In spite of this, we do not see her ever complaining, not once. We do not see her complaining to Krishna even once. On the contrary, she asks Krishna for more miseries. Surprisingly, she is so courageous that she asks Krishna to give her more problems. She seeks miseries to continue so that she can stay connected with Krishna all the time. Enduring distress is something we have to learn from Kunti. For Kunti, in every distress, her stress is on remembrance of Krishna. For Kunti, a misery, an adversity is nothing but an impetus to stay connected with Krishna all the time. And therefore, Kunti's stuti is so very profound. It is profound for its quintessential bhakti. It is profound for its supreme wisdom. One may ask, should I then pray for problems like Kunti? It's a very interesting question to ask. Many of us, when we face a problem, we take Krishna's shelter. And when we have no problems, we become apathetic. The question to ask is, are problems generators of bhakti? The problems are not generators of bhakti. It is Krishna's mercy with a combination of the free will granted by Krishna that generates bhakti. Now, there are people, when there are no problems, become complacent. And there are people amidst problems become great bhaktas. And there are people amidst problems become non-believers. Therefore, it is not material situations, unfavorable or favorable, that are responsible for growth of bhakti. However, we need to understand this unfortunate reality. The unfortunate reality is that in the world that we live, we do not feel the need for Krishna. The unfortunate reality is that in the world that we live, we do not feel a need for God. When things are going on well, I'm very happy. I am very happy the way I am, and I'm also very happy that Krishna is happy somewhere. When things are going very well for me, I'm very happy. And based on my convenience, I will do business with Krishna. He is at the periphery of my life. For a majority, there is no feeling for the need of God. This is an unfortunate reality of the way we lead our lives and living. Therefore, what is true realization? True realization is to feel the need for Krishna. Bhakti, after all, is unquenchable thirst for Krishna. To feel the need for Krishna, to bring him to the very center of our lives. In the way we lead our life and living, we often operate in three modes. We operate normally in three modes, most often only in two modes. One is a comfort zone. The second is a panic zone. Comfort zone, we either operate in our comfort zones or we operate in our panic zones. Now, if I am capable of lifting 10 kilo weights and I go to the gym and I lift 2 kilos, I'm in a comfort zone. If I am capable of lifting 10 kilos and I walk into a gym and lift 20 kilos, I'm in a panic zone. Most often, we operate in either of these extreme zones. Ideally, we should be operating in what is called a stretch zone. When I'm capable of lifting 10 kilos and when I lift 11 kilos, I stretch myself slowly. I'm in a stretch zone. When we face big problems in life, we get into panic zone. And when we don't face problems, we are always in our comfort zone. Any sadhana is about getting into the stretch zone. If we do not get into the stretch zone, there is no sadhana. Practice of bhakti requires ourselves to come out of the comfort zone. As long as we are in the comfort zone, there is no place for Krishna. There is no thirst for Krishna. Bhakti, to be practiced, unfortunately, we need to stretch ourselves because of our own vasanas. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Shakyam, Atmanivedanam. Various ways of practicing bhakti. But for each of this, if we are in comfort zone, none of these are possible. Shravanam, Kirtanam, if you're in comfort zone, we don't have time for Shravana. If somebody can give me in 2 minutes the very essence of all Vedas and Vedanta, I can lend my ears for 2 minutes. If I have to spend 1 hour, I don't have time. I'm in a comfort zone. I don't have the compelling need. No Shravanam, no Kirtanam. Smarana. If I'm in a comfort zone, where is the time? What is the need for reflection, contemplation? Pada Sevanam. If somebody does Pada Sevanam to me, I'm okay. Why should I do Pada Sevanam to somebody else? Archanam. If I have time, I will accommodate. Vandanam. Backache. No room for Vandanam. Dasyam. Am I a servant? No, I'm a master. Why should I serve somebody? I cannot be a dasa. I'm a master. So as long as I'm in a comfort zone, I think I am the master. I am the controller. Where is the question of Atmanivedanam anyway? Therefore, unless we come out of the comfort zone and get into the stretch zone, we cannot practice any sadhana. Bhakti, to be practiced, needs us to get into that stretch zone. Therefore, the question is not whether, like Kunti, we pray for problems. The question is not that. The question is not whether we need problems. The question is not that we are desperate to get freedom from problems. The question is whether can we cultivate the feeling of a thirst for Krishna. Whether we cultivate the feeling of a desperate need for Krishna in our lives. Cultivate thirst for Krishna, and this is what Kunti Stuti evokes in us. As the Stuti, through the Stuti, since Kunti reveals her heart, it evokes in us a thirst for Krishna. The advent of Kunti Stuti happens in a very extraordinary circumstance. Very extraordinary circumstance. Of course, in Kunti's life, no moment is ordinary. This situation, this circumstance is extraordinarily extraordinary. after the conclusion of Mahabharata, the war, the devastating war, and subsequent coronation of Yudhishthira, Krishna is now all ready to go to Dwaraka, to take leave of Pandavas. And Krishna is making the preparation, and he boards his chariot, preparing to go to Dwaraka. As he boards the chariot, Uttara comes rushing. Uttara, Abhimanyu's wife, Uttara is carrying Abhimanyu's child in her womb. Uttara comes rushing to Krishna. She is in a panic. She's devastated. She comes rushing to Krishna and says, "Hey Bhagavan, I see a fiery arrow that is about to strike me. Please protect me. More importantly, protect the child in my womb." Krishna knows this is the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, which was deployed to exterminate the sole successor of the Pandavas. And miraculously and magically, at that very moment, Krishna enters Uttara's womb. With his divine energy, he covers Uttara's womb and ensures that Brahmastra's radiation does not impact the to-be-born Parikshit. And he protects the child, Uttara's womb. After carrying out this miraculous task, Krishna nonchalantly prepares to travel. And then as he gets ready, sitting on the chariot to go to Dwaraka, everyone is around. Then at that very moment, something, reality strikes. Now Kunti realizes all the pains, all the miseries that she endured throughout her life, when all of them put together, are nothing compared to the pain of separation from Krishna. It is a heart-wrenching moment for Kunti. And when this reality strikes, spontaneously there is an outpouring, which is what we celebrate as Kunti Stuti. Krishna is seated on the chariot. Kunti approaches him. Kunti doesn't want Krishna to leave them. Therefore, Kunti looks at Krishna. Namasye purusham tvadyam Ishwaram prakate param alaksham sarvabhutanam antarpah avastitham. She starts her prayers with Namasye. Let me bow down to you, Hey Krishna, Namasye. Krishna looks at her in his own characteristic style, enigmatic look, and silently communicates, "Hey Kunti, I am your nephew, you are my aunt. Why should you be prostrating to me?" Kunti says, "That is why I'm saying Namasye Purusham. You are the Parama Purusha, Hey Krishna. You may be in this avatara my nephew. You are the Parama Purusha, Purusham, Purushanotiti Purushaha. Bahusanotiti Purushaha. One who gives in abundance, the giver of all rewards. Hey Krishna, you are that Purushottama, Parama Purusha. Puhu Puraha Avishat Tasmaduchate Purushaha. You are the indweller of every entity. That is why Namasye Purusham. Also, She knows Krishna may ask another question. So she says, Purusham Tvadyam. Tvadyam. Eternal Purusha, the original Purusha. Krishna looks at her and says, Jivatma is also eternal. Kunti says, that is the reason, hey Krishna, Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram. I know you will ask me this, Krishna, because Krishna and Kunti have a very special relationship, the aunt-nephew relationship. And Krishna, of course, is always teasing her all the time. And here also, he is teasing her to see how sincere she is in her prayers. Hey Krishna, you are Ishvara. You are the ruler. Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram. Krishna looks at her and seems to convey, but there are several rulers. I am not the only ruler. There are several other rulers. She says, yes, I know that. You will ask me. Ishwaram Prakrite Param. Hey Krishna, you are not an ordinary ruler. You are the ruler of all rulers. You are the ruler of Prakriti. You are beyond Prakriti and you are the controller of Prakriti. You are beyond Prakriti. No other ruler can be beyond Prakriti. You are the only one who is beyond Prakriti and you are the one who controls Prakriti. Ishwaram Prakriti. Krishna smilingly looks at her again. Kunti, you are saying this. Unfortunately, nobody else seems to be saying this. You only are saying this, that I am Ishwar, I am Purushottam. Look at all, there are so many other people. Nobody else is saying this. Kunti says, I also know this, Krishna. You will ask me, Alaksham Sarabhutanam Antarbahiravastitam. Knowing what Krishna will ask, Kunti, the way she is composing her stutis, she is ahead of Krishna. After all, Bhakta, Supreme Bhakta, has to be ahead of Bhagavan. After all, Krishna is a Leeladhari. So Krishna says, Alakshyam Sarabhutanam. You are invisible. Hey Krishna, Alakshyam for all. Your nature is not known by anyone. Alakshyam Sarabhutana. Antar Bahir Avastitham. Hey Krishna, I know that you are within me as my Antaryami. You are the Paramatma. You are the Antaryami in every entity. Antar Bahiravasthitam. At the same time, I also know you are outside as well. You are Bhagavan. Akhilaheya Pratyanika Kalyanekatana Svetana Samasta Vastu Vilakshana Ananta Jnananandaika Swarupa. You are endowed with divine gunas, Kalyana gunas. You have such a beautiful form. You permeate at the same time, you also have a divine form. Antar Bahiravasthitam. Namasye Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakrite Param Alaksham Sarabhutanam Antar Bahir Avasthitam. Krishna still says, looks at her, hey Kunti, how can you say I'm invisible? I'm standing here right in front of you. Everybody can see me. Still you say I'm invisible. On what basis? Kunti knows the truth. The truth is, the eye cannot count on the eye. The eye cannot count on EYE. The truth also is, what the eye, EYE, sees is far less important than what the eye, the seer, needs to see. What the eye, EYE, sees is far less important than what the eye, the seer, the Atman, needs to see. She also knows that when the infinite is seen with finite filters, The infinite is reduced to a finite. With the finite filters, there is no way to see the infinite, to know him fully. Kunti knows this. And therefore, Kunti looks at Krishna and says, Krishna, let me answer your question. You yourself have told this to my son. Avajananti ma moodaha manushim tanumashritam param bhava vajanantaha avabhuta maheshwaram. Bhagavan, the Supreme, when he takes a human-like form, many do not recognize him. Krishna says, hey Arjuna, they do not recognize me as the Paramapurusha, as the Parabrahman, as the Paramatma, because I have taken a human-like form. They are mudhas, they are ignorant people. Therefore, Krishna, let me repeat the answer. Let me repeat what you told Arjuna. Maya javanika channam ajna adokshajam avyayam na lakshase mudadrisha nato natyadharo yatha. What a wonderful shloka. Kunti responds to Krishna and says, Krishna, Maya javanika channam ajna adokshajam avyayam na lakshase mudadrisha. Na lakshase mudadrisha. Hey Krishna, you asked me why you are invisible. Na lakshase mudadrisha. Mudha, to the ignorant, you are invisible. To the mudhas, you are invisible. Maya javanika channam. The curtain of Maya covers our eyes. Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim Viparita Jnana Janani Swavishayayascha Bhogya Buddher Janani. Swami Ramanuja in the Sharanagati Kadhya talks about the threefold impact of Maya, of Prakriti. He says, Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim. Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana. Prakriti, Maya, acts like a wheel, as a curtain, and covers Bhagavat Swarupa. Therefore, to an ordinary eye, wheeled with Maya, Bhagavan cannot be seen. His Swarupa cannot be known. His Rupa cannot be seen and he cannot be experienced. Bhagavat Swarupa Tirodhana Karim. Viparita Jnana Janani. It not only acts as a curtain covering our eyes, Viparita Jnana Janani. It creates Viparita Jnana, perverse knowledge. What is the perverse knowledge? Dehatmabhimana. Misidentifying the Atman with the Deha. Svavishayayascha Bhogya Buddher Janani. It not only acts as a curtain covering our eyes, it creates Viparita Jnana. On top of that, it also creates a myth that the summum bonum of life is just to experience bodily pleasures. Maya javanika channam. Kunti says, Maya javanika channam ajna adhokshajam. Avyayam. You are Avyaya, hey Krishna. You have an eternal, unchanging form. Eternal, unchanging, beautiful form. Avikaraya Shuddhaya Nityaya Paramatmane Sadaika Rupa Rupaya Vishnave Savajishnave. However, Adhokshajam, your form is beyond material perception, is beyond material eyes. Agnya, the ignorant. Therefore, to the ignorant, you are beyond their perception. Your beautiful, your glorious form is not revealed to the ignorant because their eyes are veiled. And that is the reason why you are na lakshase mudhadrisha, he says. Na lakshase. You are invisible. You cannot be seen. You cannot be realized by the mudhas, to those ignorant. Why? She gives a beautiful answer. Nato natyadharo yatha. Nataha, actor. When we look at an actor, and when we look at the role the actor is playing, it is not easy to realize and identify the true identity of the actor. The actor may be playing any role. It is not easy looking at the role the actor is playing. One cannot identify the true nature, the true identity of the actor. If I see Krishna as a cowherd, there is no way I can realize and recognize that he is the Paramatma. Here, Kunti also says, Nataha natyadharo yatha. Kunti also knows Krishna is also a glorious dancer. How can one forget his Kalinga Mardhana? Taduttamangam parikalpyarangam taranga nishpanna mridanganadam. Now, Kalinga Mardhana, it seems, Taduttamangam parikalpyarangam. Vedanta Desika beautifully says, he says, the hoods of Kalinga became the stage. Taranga nishpanna mridanganadam. He says the waves of the Yamuna became the accompanying mridanga. How can one ever forget that glorious Kalinga Mardhana? Nato natyadharo yatha. Kunti is reminded of Krishna's dancing capabilities, and we also know your Rasa Krida. The reason why she also, apart from Nataha, she also said natyadharo. When we look at a dance performance, unless we know the subject, it is very difficult to understand what is going on the stage. Imagine a foreigner walks in to watch a classical dance performance, and the dancers are beautifully depicting Krishnavatara. The foreigner would have no understanding, no clue as to what's happening on the stage. At best, he may appreciate the artistic movements, but he wouldn't understand the subject matter. Similarly, if we do not know that Krishna is the Parabrahman, Krishna is the Paramatma, how would we ever know? How would we ever realize the true purport of all his cheshtitas? Stealing of butter, Rasa Krida, siding with Pandavas. All of these are not mere entertainment. Krishna Leela is not entertainment, it is spiritual upliftment. Unless we know, unless we realize Krishna is the Paramapurusha, is the Paramatma, it is impossible to recognize, to know his nature. That is why Kunti says, Maya Javanika Channam Agnya Adhokshajam Avyayam Na Lakshase Mudhadrisha Nato Natyadharo Yatha. Krishna then says, so Kunti, then do you know me? Now, Kunti is one of those rare bhaktas, Paramajnani, who could recognize that Krishna was the Paramatma. But still, Kunti expresses her utmost humility. She knows Krishna as Paramatma. She knows Krishna as the Avatara Purusha. She knows Krishna is Sriman Narayana. But still, she expresses utmost humility. Tata Paramahamsana. muninam amalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartham katam pashyemahi striyaha. Katam pashyemahi striyaha. Who am I, Krishna? I am just an ordinary woman. Who am I? How can I know you? How can I, not a capital, small I, know you? Why with a capital? How can I know you, Supreme Person? Kunti also knows what Krishna taught Arjuna. Naham vedairna tapasa najane nachejjaya shakyevam vidodrashtum drishtavanasi mam yatha bhaktya tvananyaya shakyah ahamevam vidoarjuna jnatum tashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. It is only through bhakti. No study of Ved, no amount of study of Vedas, performing yajnas, performing dana, all kinds of Vedic rituals are not enough to know him, to see him, to realize him, to experience him. It is only through bhakti alone that one can experience him, one can see him and attain him. So therefore, Kunti is echoing the same message here. Hey Krishna, tata paramahamsana. Paramahamsas, great bhaktas, they are called Paramahamsa because the swan, the Hamsa Pakshi, has a very unique capability to separate out milk from water. Paramahamsas have the unique capability, their discriminatory power to separate out worldliness and stay focused on Krishna. Tata Paramahamsanam, Muninam, great rishis, Amalatmanam, who are personifications of purity. Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham. You descended, hey Krishna, in order to teach Bhakti Yoga and ignite the light of Bhakti in the hearts of Paramahamsas, Munis, the great Rishis. If such is the case, Katam Pashyemahi Striyaha. How I, a mere woman, I have not studied the Vedas. I don't know if I am qualified enough to know you, to realize you. Am I qualified enough at all? Now, while Kunti asks this question in her own heart, she also knows the fact. The fact is, majority of those who knew Krishna, who recognized Krishna as the Paramatma during his avatara are women. Majority of those, who can forget Gopikas of Vraja? Majority of those who knew Krishna as the Paramatma are women. Very few men realized that he was Paramatma. Kunti knows this fact. If Krishna is teasing her, she also has to tease Krishna. Katam pashyemahi striyaha. At that very moment, she's struck with an inspiration and also a reassurance. And she looks at Krishna and says, Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya cha, Nandagopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna, Krishnaya Vasudevaya. You are Vasudeva. Why Bhagavan is Vasudeva? Vasudeva. Vasu, the one in whom lives this entire creation, just like how a womb resides inside a mother. And the one who protects everything by enveloping everything. He is Vasu. Deva. Divi Kridayam Dhatuhu. Deva is one who engages in Leela all the time. Vasudeva. Now, Kunti looks at Krishna and says, hey Krishna, you are Vasudeva. You have, I know that it is your Leela that you chose Vasudeva as your father. And by choosing Vasudeva as your father, you, the Paravasudeva, by becoming son of Vasudeva, also are called Vasudeva in this avatar. The Paravasudeva also becomes Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. It is your Leela that you chose Vasudeva as your father. It is your Leela that you chose Devaki as your mother. Krishna, Krishnaya, Vasudevaya, Devaki, Nandanayacha. It is your Leela that you chose Devaki and Vasudeva as your parents. Nanda Gopa Kumaraya. It is also your Leela that you chose Yashoda and Nanda also as your parents. And in fact, gave them the prime time to relish all your Leelas. It is your Leela that you chose Nanda and Yashoda also as your parents. Therefore, Krishnaya, Vasudevaya, Devaki, Nandanaya cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya. She says, hey Krishna, Vasudeva is no doubt blessed. Devaki, no doubt, is blessed. Yashoda, no doubt, is blessed. Nandagopa, no doubt, is blessed. But let me tell you who are the most blessed. Not Vasudeva, not Devaki, not Nandagopa, not Yashoda. The most blessed are the Gopikas of Vraja. Nandagopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namaha, Govinda. Gavam Vinda Govinda. Here, Go stands for senses, in particular the eyes. The one who is the source of immense joy to the eyes of the Gopikas. Bhaktapaya Bhujanga Garuda Manihi, Trailokya Raksha Manihi, Gopi Lochana Chatakambudha Manihi, Saundarya Mudra Manihi. Kulashekara beautifully glorifies Bhaktapaya Bhujanga Garuda Manihi, Trailokya Raksha Manihi, Gopi Lochana Chatakambudha Manihi, he says. Gopi Lochana Chatakambudha Manihi. The Chataka bird is very, very unique. The Chataka bird survives only on fresh water from the rain clouds. The Chataka bird drinks only water, rainwater directly pouring from rain clouds. Gopi Lochana Chatakambudha Manihi. Hey Krishna, you are the gem. You are the gem in the form of the rain-bearing clouds to the Chataka bird, represented by the eye of the Gopika. To a Gopika's eye, nothing else is seen other than Krishna. Therefore, you are Govinda. Krishnaya, Vasudevaya, Devaki, Nandanaya cha, Nandagopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Therefore, hey Krishna, therefore, I not only prostrate to you, now I have this assurance. If the Gopikas know you, if the Gopikas of Vraja have realized you, earlier she said, Katam Pashyema Histriyaha. Now I am reassured that I can also know you with your grace. Therefore, seeking Krishna's grace, Kunti continues. And she says, Namah Pankajanabhaya, Namah Pankajamaline, Namah Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. A very simple but profound prayer. Namah Pankajanabhaya, Pankaja. Pankaja, a lotus flower. The lotus has a very unique capability, a unique feature. Never gets contaminated. It stays afloat on water, never gets wet. Even in dirty water, it remains unattached, without any contamination whatsoever. Therefore, it stands for pristine purity and exquisite beauty. No wonder the Pankaja, the lotus, is often used to describe Bhagavan. Kunti starts looking at Krishna and says, Namah Pankajanabhaya Padmanabha. Pankajanabha, Padmanabha. Nabhi, that's the source of all sources, the source of all resources, the origin, the beginning of all beginnings. She's celebrating the beginning of all beginnings, from where the lotus-like Nabhi of Bhagavan was the source from where Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, emerged. Right at the beginning of creation. So interestingly, in the shloka, Kunti is relishing the Divya Mangala Vigraha of Krishna. But there is a very peculiar order in which she is relishing Krishna here. Namah Pankajanabhaya, Namah Pankajamaline, Namah Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangre. There is no specific order here. We need to understand why she is going with this order when she is relishing Krishna here. Kunti knows that she is conscious of the fact that Krishna does not want her, Krishna wants her to treat him as a nephew. So she is resisting to prostrate to his lotus feet. She is conscious of the fact that Krishna wants her to behave like his aunt. So she is resisting prostrating to his lotus feet. At the same time, she is in awe of Krishna, the Paramapurusha, in awe of the Supreme Creator. And therefore, she starts celebrating the origin, the source. And therefore, she says, Namah Pankajanabhaya. Celebrating the origin and also celebrating the bond, not just Brahma. Every living entity has with Bhagavan. You know, just like how when a child comes out of a mother's womb, there is that umbilical cord. Every entity has this invisible umbilical cord connected to Bhagavan all the time, whether we realize it or recognize it or not. Because he is the source of all sources and the source of our resources. Therefore, in awe of the Supreme Creator, Kunti starts off celebrating that origin. And therefore, looking at his Divya Mangala Vigraha, she first prostrates to Namah Pankajanabhaya. Then she sees the beautiful garland around the Nabhi. Namah Pankajamaline. Krishna wears this garland of beautiful lotus flowers. Now, the garland symbolizes the love of a bhakta. What can a bhakta offer to Bhagavan? The lotus flowers are given by him. So it is no point in offering a lotus flower back to him. But when the lotus flowers are strung together as a garland, there is an effort that the bhakta can call that as his. Not an ordinary effort, effort laden with love. And therefore, the lotus garland symbolizes a bhakta's love for Bhagavan. And therefore, Kunti is celebrating the mala. Also, this is not an ordinary mala. This is a Jayamala, garland of victory. The Krishna wears this garland to say that he is ever victorious. Namah Pankajamaline. He is ever victorious. It is Jayamala. Jitante Pundarikaksha, the Shastras proclaim. Jitante Pundarikaksha. He is the one who is ever victorious. He is Pundarikaksha, and automatically she is attracted to his exquisitely beautiful, enchanting, electrifying eyes. She cannot now resist taking her eyes off Krishna's lotus-like eyes. Therefore, she now celebrates Namah Pankajanetraya. Because the moment she looks at her eyes, the beautiful lotus-like eyes, he is Pundarikaksha. Atayesho Antaraditye Hiranmaya Purushaka Drishyate Hiranyasparshu Hiranyakesha Apranakat Sarvayeva Suvarnaha Tasyayata Kapyasam Pundarikam Vakshani. The Chandogya Upanishad declares, Bhagavan, how do I identify him? Looking at his eyes. He is Pundarikaksha. The moment she looks at his eyes and knows he is Pundarikaksha, she now cannot resist prostrating to him because he is Paramapurusha. Namaste Pankajangre. Initially, she started off resisting. She only wanted to relish his beauty, his Divyamangala Vigraha. But the moment reality struck that he is the Pundarikaksha, he is the Paramapurusha, she has no other option. She naturally prostrates. Namaste Pankajangre. Hey Krishna, you are the Paramapurusha, you are the Purushottama, and therefore I prostrate to your lotus feet. Krishna's feet are lotus-like. Not only beautiful, soft as well, like lotus. One may wonder how Bhagavan's feet are lotus-like and soft in spite of walking bare feet on Vrajabhumi. Seems in the holy land of Vraja, the cows are always happy looking at Krishna. And out of sheer happiness, they constantly, abundantly, milk keeps dripping. All over Vrajabhumi, the ground is soaked with milk and so soft, making it comfortable for Krishna to walk. Therefore, his feet are not only lotus-like, not only beautiful, are so soft. Namaste Pankajangre. No, Krishna himself is surprised. He says, are my feet so very special? It seems Krishna himself wondered, why do all my bhaktas glorify my feet? What is so special about them? He wanted to discover for himself. Kararavindena padaravindam mukaravinde viniveshayantam patasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukundam manasasmara. The Balamukunda lying on the banyan leaf, one who has a lotus-like face, with his lotus-like hand, gently lifting his lotus-like feet and tasting it with his lotus-like mouth. Then he realized, no wonder my feet are very special to my bhaktas. Namah Pankajanabhaya, Namah Pankajamaline, Namah Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangre. Therefore, hey Krishna, your feet are my only recourse. And I prostrate to you, and I take shelter at your lotus feet, Kunti says. Yata Rishikesha Kalena Devaki Kamsena Ruddhati Charam Supachita. She says, let me tell you, hey Krishna, I know Devaki is very fortunate. She is very fortunate because she carried you in her womb. She is very fortunate. But let me also tell you, I am more fortunate than Devaki. Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho. Tvayaiva nathena muhurvipadganat. She says, hey Krishna, Devaki had only one danger. Well, all other incidents where Kamsa was killing the earlier children were all a build up to your appearance. Eventually, she was anticipating your appearance. It was in anticipation, and she only had one moment of great danger. And of course, you protected her, you saved her. And after you came back to Mathura from Gokula, her life was so smooth. She had no other dangers at all, no more crisis for her. Look at my case, hey Krishna. Every moment of my life has been a crisis. And you have repeatedly protected me every time. You protected Devaki only once, but you have been protecting me several hundreds of times. So therefore, I am more fortunate than Devaki. I consider Devaki might have had the opportunity of holding you in her womb. I missed out that opportunity, no doubt. That way, I am not fortunate, but I consider myself more fortunate than her because you have been protecting me all the time. Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho tvayaiva nathena muhurvipadganat. Tvayaiva nathena. I thought I am an anatha, but I know I am not anatha. You are my natha. You are not only my natha, you are the natha of my sons. You may be Jagannatha, but you are very special to us. Tvayaiva nathena muhur vipadganat. Muhur vipadganat. Muhur. It's constant. Vipadganat. What is constant in life? One may immediately say change. It's a cliche. Change is the only constant. Kunti very clearly, categorically says, what is constant in life? Vipadaha. Adversities, problems, miseries. They are the only constant in life, she says. Muhur vipadganat. You have been protecting us. Vipada we have been facing innumerable adversities. But every time you protect us. And now she says, hey Krishna, if you are innocently looking at me like this, let me remind you. Krishna is looking at her as though he has done nothing. She looks at Krishna and says, let me remind you, hey Krishna, Vishan Mahagne, Purusha Dadarshanath, Asat Sabhaya, Varavasa Krichrataha, Mride Aneka Maharatastrataha, Drauni Astrataschasma Harehe Abhirakshita. What a glorious shloka. Here, Kunti is reminding Krishna of how he has been protecting her and her sons all the time. She's recounting all the major incidents. Innumerable number of times, hey Krishna, you have protected us, saved us. But let me recount some very important incidents. She says, Vishan Mahagne, Vishan. She starts with the despicable incident of Duryodhana poisoning Bhima. Duryodhana poisoning Bhima with a poisonous cake and throwing Bhima in the river. Unconscious Bhima gets thrown in the river, and magically the serpents, when they bite Bhima, it turns into an antidote for the poison. Bhima not only survives, he ends up meeting Vasuki, who gives him the magic potion and makes him stronger. Bhima emerges stronger than before. Vishan Mahagne, you protected Bhima there, Kunti says. But Krishna is not there. She recounts incidents where Krishna has not been present, but she still says, Hey Krishna, you protected us. Kunti knows. Kunti knows, and she sees the invisible hand of Krishna at work all the time. She sees Krishna's signature in every incident, in every event. That is why she is a Paramajnani, she is a Paramabhakta. Vishan Mahagne, Mahagne, the great escape of the Pandavas from the Lakshagraha at Varanavata. So when Duryodhana schemed to set fire to the Lakshagraha, the palace made of wax, and with Krishna's protection, the Pandavas escaped right on time together with Kunti. And she says, you were the one who protected us, hey Krishna. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat. Purushada Darshanat, overcoming man-eaters, cannibals in the forest, when we had to face the danger personified, the man-eater, the cannibal, Hidimba. Bhima encountered him, and it is your grace that Bhima could manage to overcome Hidimba, and we escaped. Purushada Darshanat. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asat Sabhaya. Yuta Sabha. Asat Sabhaya. Hey Krishna, trapped in extremely humiliating incident, trapped in an extremely humiliating incident, and being the one most dishonored, Draupadi emerges out as the most honorable, the Yuta Sabha. Draupadi's bhakti transforms the lowest moment of her life, the lowest point of her life, the highest point of her life. It is Draupadi's bhakti, it is Draupadi's Krishna bhakti that transforms the lowest moment into the highest point of her life. Now, when a true bhakta calls out, obviously Bhagavan rushes. And on that eventful day, hey Krishna, when Draupadi called out to you, you weren't there. Shanka Chakra Gadapane Dwaraka Nilayachyuta Govinda Pundarikaksha Rakshamam Sharanagatam. When she called out, hey Pundarikaksha, hey Govinda, you manifested as the inexhaustible sari, and you protected Draupadi, hey Krishna. Who else could have protected Draupadi? Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krishataha. Pandavas endured several sufferings in the during their Vanavasa. It is only because of you, hey Krishna, they could endure, they could survive and come out unscathed. Vanavasa Krishataha. Mride Mride Aneka Maharatastrataha. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, we all know, I know, who protected the Pandavas against the Maharathis. The astras of Maharathis would have easily destroyed the Pandavas. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, these Maharathis, you protected my sons against them. And finally, Drauni Astrataschasma Harehe Abhirakshata. You are the one who protected from the Brahmastra. Drauni is Ashwatthama. From the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, you alone could have protected us. Rishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanat Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krikshataha Mride Mride Aneka Maharatastrataha Drauni Astrataschasma Arehe Abhirakshataha. Hey Krishna, you are our protector. Now it is very interesting to see here how Krishna protects Pandavas and Kunti. Krishna protects Pandavas and Kunti in person. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna was in person. Personally, he protected. Krishna protects them in person, personal presence. Krishna also protected them through a representative, through Vidura. In the incident of Lakshagraha, through Vidura, a message was sent. So therefore, Krishna also protects through a representative. In the case of Dyuta Sabha, Krishna protected Draupadi through his omnipresence and omnipotence. Krishna was there in Dwaraka, but he also was there in Hastinapur. Omnipresence and omnipotence. Krishna also protects. Also, if he protects them, if you take the case of Hidimba Vada, he also protects by manifesting as Bhima's Bala. Balam, Balavatam Chaham. Therefore, he also empowers the Pandavas. He protects them by empowering them. During Vanavasa, Krishna also enables the Pandavas make the right choices all the time, and also ensures that they make the right choice when it comes to the Ajnatavasa as well. So therefore, he also protects by enabling the Pandavas make right choices. When it comes to Kunti, he also protects Kunti by transforming every misery of hers into an impetus for healing. Before, Krishna protects the Pandavas and Kunti. He protects through his presence. He protects through his representative. He protects through his omnipresence and omnipotence. He protects Arjuna through his teaching, the Gita, on the battlefield by giving Brahma Vidya. He protects Bhima by empowering him. He protects the Pandavas by enabling them make the right choices. He protects Kunti by transforming her misery into an impetus for healing. Magically, Krishna's various means of protection magically becomes an acronym. Presence, representative, omnipresence, teaching, empowerment, choice-making, transformation, protect. Krishna protects to protect. The way he protects is simply beyond imagination. Kunti says, hey Krishna, you have your own ways and means of ensuring that you always protect us. Beyond any doubt, I am assured that you are our protector. And therefore, Kunti comes up with a scarily courageous prayer based on this assurance. She comes up with a scarily courageous, I would say. She says, Vipadas santutha shashvat tatra tatra jagadguru. Vipadas santutha shashvat tatra tatra jagadguru. Bhavataha darshanam yat syat apunar bhavadarshanam. This is the core of Kunti Stuti. So this is a scarily courageous prayer. Only someone like Kunti can pray like this. She says, Vipataha santu tha shashvat. Let the miseries keep coming. Let the calamities keep happening. Give me problems, more and more of them. Krishna is looking at her. What are you asking, Kunti? Tatra tatra jagadguru. Bhavataha darshanam yat syat. Why are you asking for this? Kunti says, Bhavataha darshanam yat syat. I know when there is a problem, you are there with me. I can see you. And when I see you, I know that I don't need to see any more birth and death. Apunar bhavadarshanam. When I see you, I don't need to ever see rebirth. Therefore, Vipadaha santu dasaswati, hey Krishna, let the calamities keep coming. Let them keep coming. Because I know that when they keep coming, you are there. So this is quintessential wisdom, not very, very easy to understand. There are different levels of wisdom here that we need to reflect on when Kunti says, Vipadaha Santutha Shashvat. Different levels of wisdom. Kunti knows that we all do not prioritize, we not give priority to Krishna during normal times. During normal times, Krishna is not our priority. And we get carried away. We get carried away with all the cravings that we have for worldly pleasures. And when we get carried away by all the worldly pleasures, we completely miss out. And there is no room for Krishna in the scheme of things. And Kunti knows that only when there is a problem, only when there is a trouble, we start giving Krishna due attention. Full attention is given to Krishna the moment we face a problem. She's only talking of bhaktas here. The moment one faces a problem, one zooms in on Krishna, Krishna gets the full attention, and one starts to test Krishna at that moment. Until then, Krishna was not even in the scheme of things, but moment problems happen, instead of he testing us, we start testing him. Hey Krishna, you better do this for me now. Are you capable? We start testing him, but Kunti says that is okay. In the process of testing Krishna, we also start tasting Krishna. And when we start to taste Krishna Rasa, it is just a matter of time, Kunti says. It is just a matter of time before one starts to realize all the cravings of the past, all the cravings for worldly pleasures become meaningless, are no match. And therefore, she says, Vipadaha Santuda Saswat. Let the Vipada come. And when there is a calamity, at least through this calamity, one starts to test Krishna, and in the process of testing him, one starts to taste Krishna. Therefore, the Vipada, the calamity, becomes an impetus for connecting with Krishna. The moment the connection with Krishna happens, then Krishna takes care of ensuring that connection stays. There is less effort required from our side. He puts in all the effort because we start delegating to him anyway. Therefore, she is confident that the moment one starts to pray to Krishna during calamities, that would be the beginning of the journey of craving for Krishna. Stop craving for the worldly pleasures, start craving for Krishna. This is one level of wisdom. Moving on to the next level of wisdom that Kunti offers here. Kunti knows very well that a pain is also a protector. A pain is also a protector. Now, how do we understand this? When I take my hand closer to fire, I feel the pain. And immediately, because of the pain, I pull my hand back. Now, imagine for a moment, I don't feel that pain, and I leave my hand on the fire for long, I would get burnt. It is because of that pain that I could immediately protect myself from burning. Pain, therefore, is a protector, Kunti says. Similarly, every calamity, every misery, every problem, every distress is also a protector, Kunti says. Why? Because every calamity, every problem, every pain points to only one thing. It shows the impermanence of this material world. It shows fragility of life. It shows the temporary nature of this material world. And therefore, that pain actually ensures that one is not allured to be attached to the temporary world. One is not allured and captivated by the worldly pleasures and stays disconnected with Krishna. So therefore, Kunti very well knows that pain, Vipada, is a protector. Kunti also knows a pain is also a pointer. Not only a protector, it is also a pointer. Worldly miseries, looking at the miseries of the world, one realizes that this is not the place for eternal happiness. Repeated pains reinforce the realization that we are, after all, materially caged. Realizing that we are materially caged, a pain makes us realize our material engagement and points to the need for our spiritual engagement. Every pain keeps reminding us of our material engagement and points to the need for our spiritual engagement with Krishna. Pain, therefore, is also a pointer. It's a protector. It is a pointer. Vipataha santu ta shashvat. Therefore, Kunti says. Moving on to the next level of wisdom, the highest wisdom the Kunti demonstrates. She knows wishing away problems is not realistic. She knows wishing away calamities, wishing away adversities. We can keep wishing that there shall be no adversity. We can go to any city in the world, adversity will keep chasing us. There is only one city where there is no adversity, Vaikuntha. Kunti knows wishing away problems is useless, is not realistic. And she also knows that she's also reassured that every time there is a problem, there is a protector, there is a savior. So therefore, why not welcome the problem and keep reminding Krishna that you are my savior? Anyway, I need to experience a series of adversities throughout this material life. As long as I have this material body, I need to keep experiencing a series of miseries, series of afflictions, whether I like it or not. Bodily afflictions, heat, cold, thirst, hunger, fatigue, aging, disease, death, mental afflictions, stress, jealousy, agitations, anger, greed. As long as I am bodily engaged, I cannot wish away miseries. So I might as well welcome them, but keep reminding Krishna that you are my savior. You are my savior and you are my protector. Therefore, Kunti here says, I shall face any problem because I know that I am not alone. I'm only operating in a team and I have a team leader who takes care of managing the problem for me. So therefore, I might as well welcome the problem rather than shying away from it. Vipadaha santu dasyasvat tatra tatra jagat guru. Bhavatah darshanam itsyad apunar bhavadarshanam. She says, therefore, hey Krishna, I am not, when I say I welcome Vipadha, I'm definitely speaking my heart out. I fully know that I have endured Vipadha in the past. I will face Vipadha in the future, and I am already in a Vipadha because you have decided to leave. And therefore, you are my protector. pain is a protector. Pain is also a pointer. But pain can only be a pointer as long as one is not intoxicated. Kunti also knows this. What kind of intoxication Kunti is talking of? Janmaishwarya Shutashribihi, she says. Janma Aishwarya Shutashribihi. Yadamana Madapuman. Naivarhati Abidatum Vai Twam Akinchana Gocharam. She says, hey Krishna, as long as one is intoxicated, one cannot approach you, seek you. Material assets become spiritual liabilities. Material assets become spiritual liabilities when the material assets are valued more than the asset giver. When the material assets are valued more than the asset giver, Krishna, then material assets become spiritual liabilities. Kunti knows this very well. That is why she says, what are these material assets she's talking about? Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribihi. Janma, birth in a noble family. Aishwarya, opulence. Wealth. Shruta, good education. Shribi, good looks. All these are material assets, but they can intoxicate people. If one gets intoxicated with these, Shastras call them Trivida Mada, threefold Mada. Mada is madness. These material intoxications can result in madness. And when one becomes mad because of these material assets turn into liabilities eventually, spiritual life, because one cannot approach Krishna, because one starts to believe with false belief that one is capable of protecting oneself. One is capable of controlling everything. And therefore she says, who can really approach you, hey Krishna? Who can really seek you? Twam akinchana gocharam, she says. Akinchana, one who is destitute, one who is helpless. The one, when somebody embraces helplessness, only they can really seek you and approach you. You cannot be approached sincerely and with devotion when one is mad, when one is soaked in worldliness. Now, our minds are like matchsticks. This Trivida Mada makes the matchstick wet. When a matchstick is wet, it cannot be ignited. Only with Krishna's grace, which is like the warmth, that can dry up this matchstick. And only when it is dried up, when the matchstick is dried up, it's devoid of the Trivida Mada. One has to become an Akinchana. And one becomes an Akinchana. One expresses one's helplessness. Then one becomes qualified to seek him, to approach him. Kunti says, hey Krishna, even after being qualified to approach you, to seek you, knowing you is not easy. Because you are a Leeladhari. Knowing you is not easy at all. Janma karma cha vishwatman ajasya akarturatmanaha. Ajasya akarturatmanaha. Tiryank nrishishu yadassu. Tiryank nrishishu yadassu. Tat atyanta vidambanam, she says. Janma karma cha vishwatman. He says, hey Krishna, I am unable to reconcile all your cheshtitas that you do with your manusha rupa, with your atimanusha cheshtitas. Atimanusha Sheela Vritta Veshaihi, Ativrittamara Vikrama Pratapaihi, Atilangita Sarvaloka Samyam, Varaye Vaishnava Vaibhavavataram. Kuresha celebrates avatars of Bhagavan. Krishna says, Kunti says, how do I reconcile your Atimanusha Cheshtitas with your Manusha Rupa? Jarma Karma Cha Vishvatma, you take birth. You are unborn, but you take birth. You are Akarta, but you seem to be doing actions. How do I reconcile this? And she goes on to give several examples. You go on in Gokula stealing butter. And of course, more than stealing butter, you end up stealing more hearts and minds. And then you steal butter, and then Mother Yashoda ends up tying you with a rope. Mother Yashoda ends up tying you with a rope, and your eyes, your lotus-like eyes, gets over flooded with tears, washing away the mascara. How do I reconcile this just cheshtita of yours? You whom fear fears you, but you act as though you are afraid. How do I reconcile this Atimanusha Cheshtita of yours? How do I know you? I can seek, I can approach you, but your Leelas are beyond my intellect. Reconciling your Atimanusha Cheshtitas with your Manusha Rupa seems to be almost impossible. But let me tell you, while I may not be able to know you fully, I know one thing for sure. She says, I know one thing for sure. Krishna looks at her and says, what is that one thing, Kunti? The one thing I know for sure, that we are nothing without you. Kevayam nama rupabhyam. She says, hey Krishna, Kevayam nama rupabhyam. Our nama and rupa, we have no fame, no name without you. Without you, where is name and fame for us? All the capabilities of Pandavas, their glory can only be attributed to you. Being talented is a gift. Being talented is a gift, no doubt. Being aware of the talent is a greater gift. But realizing that the talent is Krishna's gift is the greatest gift. Kunti here says, hey Krishna, what are our capabilities, our talents? She also knows that in future, Arjuna is going to be thrashed by village folk. She knows that the Gandhivadhari, the valiant Arjuna, who conquered all the kings only because of Krishna. Later, after Krishna's departure, Arjuna is going to be thrashed by village folk. All his weapons come to no use. Kunti knows this. She says, who are we? Kevayam nama rupabhyam. Our fame is not ours. Our name is not ours. Without you, we are nothing, hey Krishna, she says. And then Kunti, so far, she started the prayers. She started the prayers asking for Krishna to stay back. But now she is going to conclude the prayers by asking nothing. Now, this again is a sign of a great bhakta. Now, she had a big ask to begin with. But towards the conclusion, she concludes her prayers asking nothing. She knows that the only thing that is needed is Krishna Kripa and nothing else. Sri Krishna, Krishna Sakha. She looks at Krishna and says, Sri Krishna, Krishna Sakha, Vrishni Rishabhavanitrik, Rajanya Vamsa, Dahanana Pargavirya, Govinda, Godvija, Surartihara Avatara, Yogeshwara, Akila Guru, Bhagavan Namaste. This is a crescendo of the prayers. Hey Krishna, Krishna Sakha. Kunti is also, in a way, very proud that her son is Krishna Sakha. So here, Arjuna is Krishna. Arjuna also has another name, Krishna, by the way. Krishna is anyone who is dark is Krishna. Point to be noted is all handsome and beautiful characters are all dark. Draupadi is also Krishna. We can get confused. Krishna, Bhagavan. Arjuna is Krishna. Draupadi is Krishna. The feminine form of Krishna. Krishna Sakha. Hey Krishna, Krishna Sakha. You are Arjuna's Sakha. She takes pride in that. Hey Krishna, Krishna Sakha. Vrishni Rishabha Vanit. You are the foremost of the Rishnis. Rajanyavamsa Dhahanana Pavargavirya. You are the destroyer of dynasties, of all the kings who walked on the path of Adharma. Rajanyavamsa Dhahanana Pavargavirya. Govinda, Godvija, Surartihara Avatara. Hey Avatara. You descended, hey Krishna, you descended on Bhuloka for only one purpose. To protect the cows, to protect the Brahmanas, to protect the Bhaktas, to protect all those who walk on the path of Dharma. Surartihara Avatara. Yogeshwara. Akila Guru. You are the foremost of preceptors. Jagat Guru. Akila Guru, Bhagavan Namaste. All that I can do, hey Krishna, I cannot anymore ask you to stay back. At least allow me now to prostrate to you. Give me that opportunity. Fulfill my wish that I can at least prostrate to you. Don't say no now. Don't hold me back from prostrating to you. Yogeshwara, Akila Guru, Bhagavan Namaste. Now, even here, what is very interesting is, even in this heart-wrenching moment, enduring the pain of all pains, Kunti is still not asking Krishna to solve her problem. Very important lesson that Kunti teaches us. When we all face with problems, we approach Krishna and we approach him and say, hey Krishna, solve my problem. There is no issue with that. There is no issue with it. Approaching Krishna and asking him to solve a problem is okay. But then, in that process, what are we doing? When we approach him, so what is the lesson that Kunti is teaching us? When we approach him and ask him to solve a problem, we are basically telling Krishna, hey Krishna, let us together address this problem with my intelligence and your power. Let us approach this problem with my intelligence and your power. I recognize that you are omnipotent, but I fail to recognize your omniscience. I will use your power and I will use my intelligence to solve the problem. I go to Krishna and I tell him, I have this problem. I know the solution, you implement it. Now, we do not even know whether the problem is a problem. Who defines what a problem is? We may think it's a problem. In the larger scheme of things, it may not be a problem. It may be a great blessing. So when we approach Krishna and ask him to solve a problem, we are ignoring, failing to recognize his omniscience, because we are failing to recognize that he knows what is good for me. He knows what is right for me. When I fail to recognize that, I am asking him for something and asking him to help. So I recognize him. I recognize his omnipotence. I fail to recognize his omniscience. Kunti teaches us is in every situation, favorable or unfavorable, there is only one thing that one needs to do: to pray to Krishna. To pray to Krishna, to pray to him, asking him to enable me to serve him in all situations. That is exactly what Kunti teaches us through Kunti Stuti. Ask him for only one thing: grant me the service, enable me to serve you in all situations, favorable, unfavorable. I do not know if they are favorable or unfavorable. I do not know if it is good or bad. I do not know if it is a problem or not a problem. Situations come, situations go. You know what is right for me. You know what is good for me. All that I ask is your karuna and your service. Sri Krishna, Krishna Sakha, Krishna Rishabhavanitrik, Rajanyavam Sadhanana Pavarkavirya, Govinda, Godvija, Suratihara, Avatara, Yogeshwara, Akela Guru, Bhagavan, Namaste. Thus, Kunti Stuti is filled to the brim with not only quintessential bhakti, but profound wisdom. Therefore, we need to express our gratitude to Kunti Devi for this scintillating stuti. We need to also express our gratitude to Shuka Brahma and, of course, to Veda Vyasa, who captured this scintillating stuti for our sake. Something interesting happens towards the end of her prayer. Kunti concludes her prayers without asking anything. Yogeshwara, Akila Guru, Bhagavan, Namaste. Krishna looks at her. Krishna looks at her with an enchanting smile. He says nothing. He just looks at her with an enchanting smile. Why did Krishna smile? We need to wait until next Friday. Until then, let us continue to contemplate on that enchanting smile of Krishna. May that smile, that mandahasa, fill our hearts and our minds. May that smile illumine our hearts and our minds. Keep us energized and invigorated. We will come back next Friday and try to unravel the mystery of all mysteries, Krishna's smile. Krishno Rakshatuno Jagatrayagu. Krishnam Namasyamyam. Krishnena Amarashatravo Vinihitaha. Krishnaya Tubhyam Namaha. Krishna Deva Samattitam Jagaditam. Krishnasya Dasosniham. Krishne Tishtati Sarvamedadakilam. He Krishna Rakshaswama. He Krishna Rakshaswama. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.